You cannot experience the fullness of the glory of God if you remain a stranger to the presence of God. So that's why the enemy of the glory of God is what I want to talk to you today. Because in pursuit of the glory, you must be aware of the enemy of God's glory in your life. One of the things people do is, first of all, if you don't know the enemy of your harvest, you cannot conserve your harvest. It's not that you are not working hard to plant. You work hard, you plant, and then the harvest season comes, but you are ignorant of the enemy of your harvest, and it looks like the results remain the same as if you didn't work. Because after you come to harvest, the enemy snatches away the harvest, you go back to square root one as if you didn't plant. Why? Because you're not aware. Can we continue with the scripture, ladies and gentlemen? It says, this is a question, who may ascend into the hill of the Lord, or who may stand in his holy place? Somebody said there's a place of ascendancy and a place where men stand. You see, where you stand is where you find your authority. So, scripture is asking, who may? Let me actually put it in my Amplified, the classic version here. It says, who shall go up into the mountain of the Lord, or who shall stand in his holy place? That place called a holy place, somebody say, it is the presence. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the enemy of the genuine or authentic, real presence of the Lord is man's presumption. Presumption is, your assumption. You think of something that is not, but you think it is. You are living in presumption. You assume that you think just because you are born again, you are in the presence of God. That is the very enemy. Question here, who shall ascend? It means that place, although it is for everybody, but it is not for everybody. It's for someone who chooses to ascend. Are you hearing me? Who shall ascend? It's a question of personal choice. The presence of the Lord is the conveyor belt of the glory of God. So without the presence, you cannot get into glory. You cannot know the glory of God without the presence. So therefore, if you are keen to the glory of God, even before I go in the depths of explaining the glory of God, I want to make you to fall in love with the presence. Because one who is going to know the glory must be willing to sustain a consistent discipline in the pursuit of the presence. Ladies and gentlemen, we don't have many people today in our generation that are hungry for the presence. You see the mistake people make? People are hungry for power and not for the presence. People want the glory without paying the price for the presence. The price of the glory, that's with the paying the price for the presence. Imagine when I came to Kenya, if I kept it a secret that my wife and I had separated and divorced, and then later you discover we are coming back together, what kind of man would you think of me? But you knew my struggles and you stood and prayed, isn't it? If that was my Kalito secret, those who wanted to bring me down would have used that. But that's how the man has said. So that's why I tell people, when you come closer to people, to one person, 2 people, 3 people, tell them the things that you know. If they call on you before 100 people, you repeat yourself. Never share with anyone anything that you are not certain. If they call 100 people, you repeat it. Keep it. Are you hearing me? Coming back to what I was saying. I wasn't bitter. I continued. Why? Let me help you. What helps some of us to overcome bitterness regardless what people do to us? Can I give you a secret? Simple as this. I love the presence of God more than the offenses of men. I cannot be offended to the degree that I lose sight of what is most important to me, which is God's presence. Let me say to you, what is it since you've been born up to now that anyone can say to you that you have never had? There are things people have said maybe behind you and you've never known. Okay, me, they've called me. When I was sleeping on the church bench, when I was homeless, they used to say I'm a loser, I'm a failure, I am good for nothing. When I was a baby growing up at my grandmother's place, when I ran away from my stepfather who used to put a knife on my neck, my aunties and uncles used to call me this insect that eats wood, that white one that walks like this in the wood. When you break wood, in Luganda they call it chisokomi, that I eat a lot like a chisokomi. Used to call me a madman who used to walk around with loads of clothes stinking. They used to call him Ndongoye. chifulugunyu. They used to say my nose is like Jewish whistle. So me, I grew up wanting to see a Jewish whistle that looks like my nose. They say you have a big nose like a Jewish whistle, because for them they have pointed nose. Mine is flat and big, is a Jewish whistle. So they told me my head, I was the ugliest head that I had. You know what you call this? Masiga. We call them masiga when you use it for cooking. What do you call it? You call it mahiga. We call it masiga in Luganda. Those masiga. So those ones, the 3 stones. They say my head, the 3-stone, the masiga. I grew up thinking I had the most ugliest head. That's why when I met Huda, the first time she commented, I love your head, we argued. We fought. I thought she was insulting me. I said, if you have nothing to talk to me, don't you ever talk to me again. You understand? I got mad. And she says, why? I'm serious. And I said, and then because she had done child psychology, she told me, Moses, is anything wrong with you? He said, when I was growing up, all my uncles, everybody said my head is ugly, so you're trying to play nice, telling me my head is nice. Of all parts of my head, of my body, is it my head you have seen to comment upon? You see insecurities? In psychology, we call those unprocessed business. Some of you react and respond to the people in the present. You are reacting to the people of your past. When they have not said anything bad to you, but you are reacting to those things. You understand? And they used to call me Badanga. Now I was 5, 6, 7, 8 up to age 9. I endured uncles and aunties. When we sit to eat, you know how in African tradition, you all sit together? In Luganda to call it Olujuliro. So would sit on Olujuliro to eat. They give everybody his bowl of, stew, and then everybody digs in. If there's this sweet potato, everybody picks. My uncles and aunties, instead of focusing on their food, when we sit, everybody's eye is looking at me. The only uncle who would tell them off is the only uncle you saw who turned up with his wife and the Mastula, my sister, at my reunion. You remember? I'm trying to tell you, there is nothing new that Satan and his agents and people can tell me that is new, that can stop me to pursue the presence of God. So I'm trying to tell you, what offense I have carried people and taken them abroad. I've never taken my biological brother or sister abroad. I have carried people who are not my flesh and blood. And even the one who sent me to prison, who lied about me, I am the one who took him to the United Kingdom. I am the one who got him the red passport. So, what offense is there that is too great for you, that will stop you, that is compared to the pursuit of the presence of God? So when you say, who shall ascend? Tell your friend, it's not for little boys. You see, the problem is we have many little boys in the house of God. Tell your neighbor, if you easily take offense, regardless of your physical stature, you are a little boy. If it's a girl, tell him you're a little girl. I was giving you, why is it I cannot be offended? Because listen, the enemy of your glory attacks the presence, and offense is the enemy of the presence of God. You cannot carry the presence of God if you have never mastered offense. Jesus said, the things that offend man will come. And then Jesus said, but woe unto him who brings the offense. Why would Jesus put a woe unto him who brings offense? Think together with me. Proverbs 18:19. God is saying, not Moses. Imagine you get guns, you get bazookas, you get tank, you get an army, and they come to fight to conquer entire city of Nairobi. God says it is easier to conquer Nairobi city than to restore an offended brother. Much more than that. Can I tell you another thing? In comparison to that scripture, give me another one. In Proverbs 16:32, it says that he who restrains his spirit is greater than one who conquers a city. The greatness of man's spirit can be seen in his personal restraint. What means something to God is the state and the quality and the strength of your spirit, and that spirit must have the ability to resist the pressure and temptation. Then you are strong. A man who restrains, to restrain means to control, isn't it? To control his spirit is better than one who conquers a city. Let me show you. Now, most of us as humans, when a man fights a battle and he wins a city, we say, what a great man. Yet heaven applauds. A man was able to command the self-control of his own spirit. That's the one God respects the most. If you easily take offense, it means your spirit is weak. You command chicken spirit, chicken heart. You are as fortified as the self-control you command over your spirit. If you cannot control your spirit, everything else will control you, including the devil. It takes, ladies and gentlemen, self-control. You see, self-control is not of the body, it is of the spirit. When the spirit is not restrained, the body follows in the direction wherever it goes. A man with a weak spirit is under the control of his body. When the body wants sex, yes sir. When the body wants pornography, yes sir, body. Many men have lost their marriages because they lack self-control of the zip and their mouth. And many women have lost their marriages because the spirit is not restrained. Everything they want to comment on it. Have you noticed there are people who are full of opinion even before you ask? They are so generous with their opinion even when you have not asked them. Let me help you, single ladies. If you are going towards marriage, see the thing? This one is controlled by your spirit. Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth does what? In the abundance of your heart, there is something called discreet. Those are dimensions of prudence, the level of wisdom.